Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in Pioneer. Today we're looking at Spirits. Spirits is a tempo-based aggro deck that comes in two forms, a low-curve mono-blue version that leans on Curious Obsession, and a higher-curve Bant version that utilizes Collected Company. Let's start with blue first. Mono Blue Spirits is a tempo aggro deck that uses extremely cheap flyers and flash creatures in combination with Curious Obsession to draw an extra card every turn, and counter spells to either hinder the opponent or protect your threats, especially the Curiously Obsessed. Anyone who played during 2018-2019 Standard will remember the Mono Blue tempo deck that ran Curious Obsession and how annoying it was. Mono Blue Spirits is that deck's descendant. The deck can hold up counterspells by playing either extremely cheap 1 mana value spirits or flash threats. Then, once you've stuck a Curious Obsession, counter everything the opponent does for the rest of the game while never running out of gas. Spectral Sailor, Brazen Borrower, and Rattle Chains let you flash in additional threats if the opponent does nothing, or at least nothing worth countering, with Rattle Chains also able to protect your creatures. Mausoleum Wanderer additionally defends against spell-based removal. The counterspells of choice are Lofty Denial, Spell Pierce, and Geistlight Snare, with the latter sometimes being castable for a measly 1 mana. Supreme Phantom is the only lord in the deck, paving the path for an aggro beatdown plan in the absence of Obsession. Shacklegeist can clear the way for an obsessed creature or prevent attacks from a singular large threat. Ascendant Spirit is a threat that can grow out of control as the game progresses and is another way to utilize your mana at instant speed. If left unchecked, it can become a 1-card win condition. Faceless Haven provides an additional threat in the form of a land. The deck doesn't plan to go to the late game and needs to use its mana efficiently, so Haven is better than Hall of Storm Giants. The sideboard is a mix of additional counterspells, removal, bounce, or theft effects, and graveyard hate. To enable its tempo game plan, almost every card in the deck costs 2 or less, with very few costing 3. The best ways to fight it are multiple cheap spells that can overload the deck's ability to counter them, and low mana value threats with flying or reach that halt the deck's attacks. Now moving on to Bant Spirits. Bant Spirits is a higher mana value deck that leans more into Flying Lords and Collected Company to create a large board state. Since Coco requires a substantial percentage of the deck be creatures, it scales back on other spells and uses Skyclave Apparition and Spell Queller instead of the traditional counterspells in Mono Blue. Notable absences are no Curious Obsession and no Ascendant Spirit, since the deck can't play snow lands due to its 3-color base. Make no mistake, Coco is the reason to play the deck, and if it's ever bad due to the metagame, matchups, or whatever, then the Bant version isn't worth it. Where Mono Blue is quick and tricky, Bant is interested in creating overwhelming board states with multiple Flying Lords, Supreme Phantom, and Empyrean Eagle. Outside of the different game plans, however, many cards overlap between the two decks, including all the Mono Blue spirits except Ascendant Spirit. The sideboard is also similar, mostly being a mix of counterspells, graveyard hate, and removal. Tips and tricks. Rattle Chains gives other spirits flash. If you have enough mana, you can respond with effects you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to, such as Selfless Spirit. You can use Coco in response to spells, but since you don't know what you're going to hit, the timing you use depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to counter the spell, cast Coco in response, aiming for Spell Queller. If you're fine letting the spell resolve as a permanent, you can cast Coco afterward, aiming for Skyclave Apparition. You can bounce Spell Queller in response to its ETB ability with effects like Otawara, triggering its Leaves ability first and exiling a spell forever. Similarly, bounce effects can get rid of the illusion tokens that Skyclave Apparition leaves behind. You can attack and wait for the opponent to respond or declare blockers, then flash in Lords with Rattle Chains or Coco before damage to pump your team. Once you power up Ascendant Spirit to its ultimate form, you can keep activating its last ability to put more +1 counters on it and giving it additional instances of the draw trigger. If you don't want to attack and do Superior Flyer or Reach creature, Curious Obsession's Sacrifice Clause doesn't care which creature you attack with. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Mono Blue and Bant Spirits. I want to thank my fellow players in the Magic community for whom sharing their experiences helps make these guides possible. You can find additional resources, such as an up-to-date deck list, in the description. If you think I left out anything important or got something wrong, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned to see what deck we look at next time.